Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Monday, January 9th, 2023. I am Dave Biddle. I'm very happy to be joined by Steve Helwagen. A lot to get into, Steve. Let's start off by putting a bow on 2022 Ohio State season. It just feels like they blew an opportunity. They should be playing for the national championship tonight. You know, that Georgia game is just going to stick in our craw for a long time. I've also, Steve, never seen an Ohio State team that dealt with this many injuries during a year. Just kind of, when we look back on this season, what do you think we're going to think?
Well, I think that everything kind of went haywire with the Jackson Smith-Njigba injury in the Notre Dame game, clear back in the first game of the season. And it took them a full half to figure out how to play offense without Jackson Smith-Njigba. And then eventually they put Notre Dame away in that first game. And then from there, it was just kind of like they dominated a bunch of middling to really bad teams up through Penn State. They took care of business at Penn State. JT Tuimoloau had the game of his life, an out-of-body experience, as it turned out, because he'd never done anything similar to that before or since. And, from there, you get into the last three games of the season. And this is what I kind of come away with it is that Jim Knowles, yes, brought this defense a quantum leap from where it was the year before. But at the end of the year, it just seemed to me that he had a much greater belief of what his defense was capable of than what they were actually capable of. And putting guys on islands that could not be put on islands, no pass rush, and then going zero coverage and giving up 80-yard runs. I don't know. Some of it was the ability of the players, but I'm just struck with some of these scheme decisions. The same play that got them against Michigan with Cam Brown whiffing on the tackle gets them against Georgia with Lathan Ransom slipping and falling in coverage. I mean, why? You've got them backed up deep in their own end. Why? Why are you doing that? And I don't know that anybody's ever gotten a good answer. The targeting penalty against Georgia, I've tried for a week to get somebody at the college football playoff, the Pac-12, even the Big Ten officials, supervisor Bill Carollo, to give me an answer of what exactly happened and why they picked up that flag. And that turned the whole game, obviously, there. So, yeah, one big missed opportunity is how I kind of look at this season. And in a bigger frame, 4 years now of two of the best quarterbacks you're ever going to have at Ohio State, Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud, and you didn't win anything. So, it is a little bit mind-numbing when you come right down to it.
Let's look ahead to 2023. I mean, obviously they're going to be good again. We'll see if they're great. Going to be breaking in a new quarterback, whether that's Kyle McCord or Devin Brown. J-Book on Friday's show floated the dreaded maybe two quarterback system. I don't think he was talking about like rotating them and just mixing Devin Brown in a little bit to use his legs, kind of like he said what Michigan did the previous year with Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy. I think you got to pick one guy and roll with them. They're going to be replacing both offensive tackles, Paris Johnson Jr., DeJuan Jones. We're hearing DeJuan Jones, even though he hasn't officially announced yet, he will go pro. Hopefully Knowles can get this defense, cranked up next year. Steve, look ahead to 2023. A tough schedule. How good do you think the Buckeyes will be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun year. I think anytime you're breaking in a new quarterback, you look at it, you just say this is the start of another new adventure. And I think that C.J. Stroud came through it, despite the early season loss to Oregon, and he was amazing last year in his first year as a starter. And there's a lot for these two young men to live up to. When you talk about Heisman finalists, 4 quarterbacks in a row, with all apologies to Cardale Jones, but Barrett, Haskins, Fields, and Stroud. I mean, this is the preeminent position in college football, right now in terms of consistently being in that discussion. And so I think that
and Braxton before that. Braxton Miller before that.
Yeah, and Braxton was outstanding before that. So I think it is a lot to put on two young guys to say, hey, you've got to play at an All-American caliber level. And I don't think that they will need to, because there are skill position players all around them who are outstanding. If we take at face value that Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, Dallin Hayden, Evan Pryor all be back at running back, and then the same at wide receiver. Julian Fleming is coming back, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka, and then whoever fills in around the edges there. Cade Stover, I believe, is coming back as well at tight end. So you find two offensive tackles, which I know you've got Josh Fryer, I believe, is going to probably be one of them. It seems like. I don't know. I think, and maybe if they're able to bring in, a transfer that can help right away, that would be awesome as well. So I think they're going to be just fine. Schedule's very difficult, opening with a road game at Indiana, which, Indiana, wasn't very good this past year, but, a game at Indiana, to open the season, you'd rather play Western Kentucky or, Youngstown State maybe first. At Notre Dame, at Michigan at the end. These are tough games. And
Wisconsin and Luke Fickell.
Yeah, boy,
he's got a new quarterback.
Well, the last time Luke Fickell lined up with Ohio State, Ryan Day put a 42-0 on him at Cincinnati. So, it's burdening him to take one out on Ohio State and Ryan Day. So, it'd be interesting to see how that one goes too. So, 3 tough road games there. Let's just take it one day at a time. They're going to be starting class today for the winter semester. Coach Mick will probably get his hands on them in a week, and the winter program will be going. Then it'll be spring football, and on they go.
Steve, if we had it our way, we'd be in LA right now sleeping, because it'd be what, 5:15.
California dreaming.
We were so close. We were all looking at plane flights when Ohio State was up against Georgia. We're like, okay, we're going to leave on the.
I had a round trip. It was only $400. It was the doggonest best bargain I've ever got in my entire life. I had to cash it in.
It's just going to bother me for a long time. They were that close, because that Georgia, you beat Georgia, you're going to win the national title. I mean, nothing against TCU.
Winner's day.
So tonight, I don't even know. I'm going to watch the game, obviously. But I'm going to be hate watching it.
What is the line, Dave? What is the current line?
12.5. It was started at 13.5, Georgia, obviously, and then it ticked down to 13. Now it's down to 12.5. I haven't looked this morning. As of yesterday,
I liked it better at 13.5. But what about the over/under?
Over/under. I forget. I could look that up real quick. But
should be a high number, because these two teams, obviously in the semifinals, both put up huge point totals. Excuse me. I like. Sorry, I'm struggling here. I like TCU plus the points, and
over/under 63.5. By the way,
I like the over
63.5. All right, there you go.
I think the winner will have 40, and the loser will probably have 30. Loser will probably have 30, 40-30, something like that. I don't know, whatever it turns out to be. But I do the picks every week, and I try and study the games as best as I can. And every week, TCU would come back with this 3-point win, a 2-point win, a 1-point win. And you're like, damn, how did they beat them? And it was crazy. They hit a field goal, I think there, what was it, to beat Baylor at the end of the season or something, or Kansas State, whatever, one of the games. And obviously they lost to Kansas State in the conference championship. But there was one game we were on the road, maybe at Northwestern, and we're all watching it, huddled around the TV, and they come out of nowhere to win this game. And you're like, damn, all they do is win football games. And this Max Duggan, even in defeat against Kansas State, played one of the best football games you'll ever see a quarterback play in the conference championship game. And then they jump on Michigan, and they've got them down. And you're like, man, these guys are for real. Mm-hmm. And they hold on and win the game. And so, yeah, I don't know what – I mean, I think Georgia's great. I think Georgia's wonderful, but I don't think Georgia's defense is all it's cracked up to be. And the Georgia reporters last week when we were there were like, man, Georgia really, would surprise us if Ohio State won the game. Come to find out, Ohio State should have won the game. And here's Georgia now, a double-digit favorite over TCU. What am I missing? I know they're trying to get money on both sides, but I don't, and maybe no one's betting on TCU, but that's where I'd put my money if I had a chance. And dare I say, I've harkened back to that Alabama Tennessee game at Tennessee where the homer Clay Travis goes, it was a 9-point favorite. Alabama was. He goes, play the money line on Tennessee. I'm not going to tell you to do that, but on TCU, but I'd be tempted to put a couple bucks on it or put it in a parlay because if it would somehow hit, it's going to pay big. So yeah, I don't know, just a thought, throw it out there. I like the over in TCU is what I would say.
I was going point spread. I'd probably take Georgia. I think they're going to win this game by 13 or more. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but maybe it'll be a blowout. I don't know. I'll be surprised if TCU keeps this that close for the entire game. I hope I'm wrong. I'll be rooting for the Frogs for sure. All right. Before we get to basketball, I want to ask you about the Jim Harbaugh rumors. What do you think is going to happen? I know I'm asking you a spitball here. Obviously, you got NFL teams that are interested in him. He's kind of given I don't know. His statement was interesting. He said, I plan on being at Michigan next year, but you never know the future. It's like, wow. And I think that's, I've pointed this out on the show a couple of times. I think this NCAA investigation right now at Michigan, which I'm not going to defend Michigan, but it is kind of funny. Like people are buying recruits left and right at other schools, USC down south. They don't do anything about that. The NCAA does. Now they're going after Harbaugh. But you know what? This gives him the perfect out. He could say, listen, I want to stay at Michigan, but the NCAA is coming after me when they're not doing anything about people buying recruits. I wanted to stay, but I'm not going to deal with this. What do you think is happy? You think I'm kind of torn. I kind of want him to come back, so I want another shot at him. But I don't know. What do you think is going to happen with Harbaugh?
I think the NCAA thing's all Mickey Mouse. It doesn't sound like it's much to it to me. Again, as you say, going after, I don't know, going after something they could prove, I suppose. I don't know. A lot of this other stuff, you can't really prove it. But I don't know. I think that in the end, he's probably back at Michigan. I think that this is all just as it was last year, posturing, because they took his money away. I mean, they after being so underwhelming for so many years there, they cut his pay. And I think that this is all a money grab on his point. He's saying, yeah, I'll stay here. I'll coach your stupid team, but I need my $10 million a year like I should be making, like he's earned. He's put him in the playoff 2 years in a row now and won the Big Ten and beaten Ohio State 2 years in a row. And I think he wants to get back up to whatever he was making before they clawed back all of his money. So I think that's what this is part and parcel of. So I would think at the end of the day, cooler heads will prevail and he'll be back at Michigan. I mean, it only takes one team to want him to take over. I mean, could Indianapolis be that team with his history there? He was captain comeback there in the late in the mid 90s. People will remember he was a hero there in Indianapolis. And so I don't know, maybe the owner wants him or maybe Carolina. I don't know. But as my buddies are texting me, the jobs are opening at rapid pace. I guess the guy Joe Woods from the Browns, as my buddy said, didn't even make it to Starbucks this morning. He's gone. So, and rightfully so. So
yeah,
Cleveland
Lovie
Browns
Smith.
are on the clock.
Poor Lovie Smith. He wins yesterday to cost the Texans the number 1 pick, and then they fire him.
1 year. The guy got 1 year.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall there. All right, well, guys, if you don't like Ohio State basketball, you don't want to hear about it. It's been good seeing you guys. Dan Rubin will have you tomorrow. I'll see you Wednesday. Steve and I are going to close the show talking some OSU hoops. Man, tough week for OSU hoops. They had the Purdue game in the bag, it looked like, until they didn't. And then they lost yesterday to Maryland, leading at halftime. And Maryland goes on a huge run. Then Ohio State comes all the way back almost. And then they still end up losing. 2 tough losses for the Buckeyes. I still like this team overall. Hopefully they can get Zed Key back somewhat soon. What do you make of this Ohio State basketball team so far, Steve?
Well, I think it's a decent enough team. I just would like it better when they're in position to win games, that they actually win them. This is now really 2 games that they've blown, the North Carolina game and the Purdue game. Those are games that you've got to win. And my God, would those 2 games look great on your resume too. So, I look at it that those are 2 games that you absolutely have to win. My dog, Doc, he just got snipped last week, so he's kind of on the mend right now. He's a little puppy dog. Yeah, he's trying to get a cameo on the show. But talking basketball, I look at it that this is a good enough team. They're going to be fine. They've got talent. Bryce Sensabaugh is the best freshman in the Big Ten, one of the best freshmen in the country, and I think that he's on his way. I think he's going to be a one and done type guy. Great to see Roddy Gale come in and hit a couple big shots yesterday. That's been missing. Tanner Holden is in the witness protection program somewhere, it seems. His 20 points a game for Wright State is translated to about 4 a game at Ohio State, and that's not nearly good enough. So they got to put the pieces together, got to get Zed Key healthy. Played the game yesterday without him. Couldn't break the press yesterday, had a number of turnovers, and I thought that Coach Holden was a little slow in calling the timeout to stop the run to start the second half. I mean, he waited until they went from up 5 to down 7 or 8 or whatever it was before he finally called the timeout. It was like, that 14-0 run, you end up losing the game. I forget the final score, 80-73, I guess was the final score. That was a very pivotal time in the game. They fell behind by as many as 14, got it fought and got it back down to 3, but couldn't get any closer there in the final minutes. So, just ride with them for now. And I mean, it's early in the season still, early in the Big Ten season, only 4 games out of 20 have been played. I think if they're still, making these same kind of critical mistakes in a game or 2 or 3, then, you start to push the panic button and say season's going by the wayside. But the issue is when you give away games like this, instead of going into the NCAA as a 3 or a 4 seed, you're going to go back in again as a 6 or a 7 or even an 8 seed. And now you're playing a 2 or 3 or a 1 in the second round, and you're not going to make the Sweet 16 again. So, you have a Sweet 16 team, in my opinion, but they are not putting the pieces together. It doesn't feel like just yet.
Great stuff from Steve Helwagen. Really appreciate it, Steve. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. Appreciate you guys very much. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.